What episode are we?
This is 21, I believe.
Episode 21.
21 for 2021.
This is our Tusken, hopefully Tuesday, but Tusken whatever day of the week.
Yeah, right. I'll certainly try. Try for Tusken Tuesday.
All right. Well, hello everyone. This is our second one of 2021. Right? Our second recording.
Yeah.
So we've been on track. This is 2 weeks without almost a slip up. We almost had a delay, but I was like, I can't cancel. I just have to get this done. So I'm Mike Hinton, stormtrooper costume wearer, and I'm here with Colin.
Colin, that's me. I'm also a stormtrooper.
Right. And we haven't been stormtrooping lately.
No. Not in this beer belly, thank you very much.
Well, yeah, I was. You know what? I was pretty lean by August, and I undid it pretty much. September killed me. I was like, because I put my sand trooper suit on. I was like, man, this thing's like fits me perfect. I was like working and doing all this stuff all summer, and then September hit, and it all came back. So when I can fit my amp, when my amp will sit on my stomach piece on my TK, then I know I'm heavy because it kind of pitches outward the top of it. The heavier I am, so I can just stick my amp, I can lay my amp right in there. I'm like, oh well. When it's nice and tight, then I'm like, I'm good.
I've been doing better lately. I mean, now I started off strong the past couple of months, but now I'm down to like 3 days of the week going to the gym.
Well, that's good.
But yeah,
I can't do the gym. I tried. I just like to be outside. I tried the gym.
We'll see how the armor fits. It's my downfall is I had replaced back in the day. God, it feels so long ago now.
I know, right?
I had replaced all my elastic side straps with nylon, the rigid nylon kind.
Oh.
So it obviously now it won't stretch as much. But when I had the stretchy kind, I was wearing them out. It was stretching too much. I can't hit a happy medium. That's just
I doubled that up. The elastic, if you double it up, it gives it a little more life. But it just doesn't last. I mean, I'm with you on that. I replaced mine a lot, but if you put that rigid stuff in the wrong spot, like I know Matt has the rigid stuff on his front legs that hold his legs up. It's hard to walk then.
Yeah.
You know, you need certain parts to give. But we're here to talk about Tusken Raiders today.
Yeah, you're right. We were going to make this a Tusken Tuesday. And
Tusken Tuesday. Well,
it's already stormtrooper based.
We have to have some. Yeah.
It's our unconscious bias is showing. Again.
We have to have some stormtrooper talk. But just a little here and there about armor bites and all that is always good. Well, I built one Tusken for Safi. Now hers isn't 100% the specs, but I did build one Tusken, so I know a little bit about the Tuskens. I think the Tuskens have become way more popular because of the Mandalorian.
Oh, it definitely helps the exposure, especially being creative with having them know sign language and having that just build on them as a character instead of just their the best we had from them was shooting at people, squealing, and having a village with CGI pet dogs. That's what we had of them up until now, but now it's like, oh, they've got actual on-screen culture and
yeah. Well, I thought I would read. Remember that what I just read to you. So this playbill from 1977. Because then we can see where they've come. Because this would be, I would hope that the person that printed this playbill at least watched the movie or parts of the movie. But I figured this was from 1977, so this is probably what the Tuskens initially were. So it was, I'm going to read it and I'll probably mess it up because of glare, and plus I hate reading out loud. But Tusken Raiders, or Sand People, wear abundant clothing to protect themselves from Tatooine's twin suns. These large, strong creatures pursue a nomadic existence in some of Tatooine's most desolate regions. Vicious desert bandits, they fear little and make sudden raids on local settlers. They are marginally human creatures. And for some reason, that whole quote's in parentheses. Like, it's a picture. And no, every quote in this play thing is, it's a paragraph about each whatever, but each quote is in parentheses. Like, that whole thing is one big parentheses next to...
That seems redundant. Like, what is it a footnote to?
Yeah. But anyway, that's the Tusken Raiders, and so I figure before we get into costume, what's your earliest remembrance of Tusken Raiders?
Honestly, my earliest remembrance of them is probably shooting at Anakin and pod racing from the Phantom Menace. I think that's the first one I watched when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
Was the Phantom Menace, because, you know, dumb little kid, I thought, oh, let's go in chronological order instead of you know, this one is number 1 now. I say, angering everybody over the age of 30, like
I think, like, that would be a whole nother show to argue what order to watch them, because once it's become part of pop culture, I don't know if there's a benefit of not watching them in chronological order.
I like watching them in release order better.
Yeah.
It's because I'm capable of separating, like, oh, this was in the past, this was, but like, because I'm capable of that, I like watching the technology and filmmaking techniques evolve over time. It makes it kind of contextually within like how the movie was made. It makes more sense because the humor of back then was much different than the humor of now, and I think it would be jarring to. I guess our newer movies would be like the sequel trilogy would be still last in line either way, but like,
right.
I think it would be jarring to go from something that was filmed these days with the kind of like deadpan humor to something back then where it was more not necessarily sitcom-y feel, but it felt like the humor was more natural.
Yeah. Well, but I think the Tuskens in Phantom Menace, I liked them better. Like, now I was a little old. I was well old when Phantom Menace came out. But that's the first movie. That's the first Star Wars movie, new movie I took Missy. We were married when we went and saw that. But the first movies I took her to were when they re-released the first 3 and special editions. I think we were married when we went and saw those too. But I remember liking the Tuskens better in Phantom Menace. Because I felt like it, like, I don't know, they felt different to me. Because I remember, like, I saw them in New Hope. I was 9. Yeah, I was 9 when they came out. I saw them in New Hope, and they scared me, you know, because they and I think what I liked about them was I liked the bantha. I thought the bantha was like the coolest thing ever. Because I think when I was a kid, I knew it was an elephant. Somehow, I found out that it was an elephant in there. When I was a kid, I just thought elephants were really cool. And so, like, I remember telling my grandmother when I went home, hey, and there was an elephant. It played a bantha, and she said, "Oh, that's neat," and she didn't care.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know those. I actually didn't know those were elephants under there. I thought that was just a big, like, frame with a costume on it. I didn't realize it was a costume on an elephant. Where did they hide the trunk?
Yeah, well, if you watch it, once you know it's an elephant. Now they might have fixed it on the new editions, maybe not. You can see where the trunk is in the one shot, and there's also footage of, it's either still photos of the elephant training with the headpiece on. And so
all right.
I just thought that, and that's what when the special editions came out and there was that herd of banthas. I just thought that, I don't know why banthas just stuck with me. Like, Tatooine stuck with me, but the banthas stuck with me. And then the Tuskens, I remember the Tusken was probably like the sixth or seventh action figure I got. And the original Tusken action figure was such a pain in the neck because he could only hold the gaffy stick. there was two figures that were a pain in the neck in that first run, and it was Chewbacca, and it was the Tusken Raider. Neither of those guys could hold anything but the weapon they came with.
Oh.
Like the Tusken's hands were like so he could hold the gaffy stick above his head. Like you couldn't put a blast. Yeah.
So they were stuck up, or like it was just
they
the way
would
the
bend.
hands.
They would bend, but the hands were so when his hands were down at his side, it was like his palms were facing backwards, like they were facing behind him.
Oh, I see.
You know, and the gaffy stick would only fit in his hand. And then Chewbacca had these weird things where the bowcaster hooked on his thumb and clipped on his arm.
Oh. So
he couldn't hold a blast. Everything, I mean, except for like Luke, Ben, and Vader, they couldn't hold anything either because they had that stupid telescoping thing. But the rest of them, you could interchange blasters pretty much. But not Chewie and the Tusken. I dislike that about them for some reason. But I do remember getting the Tusken. And honestly, until I never thought much more about them, and then when they were on Phantom Menace with that rifle, I always liked that rifle when he was shooting at them.
They're what are they? Cycler rifles? Those are.
Yeah. And I looked up the CRL to see what the major difference is between them, and it looks like really it's. I mean, there are some differences. Color-wise and stuff, but it's the neck. The neck seems to be the big difference. Let me see if I can pull up the.
I'll tell you the other. I guess by extension, other than the Phantom Menace, really the Tusken Raiders that I think of the most often. If I had to like really look inward and find the subconscious, like. Most memorable Tusken Raiders that I can think of, it's the same scene, the same context, but the Tusken Raiders shooting at Anakin pod racing in the Lego Star Wars video games.
Yeah.
Because I played that game all the time, but because like the pod racing levels was like that was the hardest to get the highest scores on, and constantly having to find all the bricks and the pieces and mini kits and stuff in them. And so those are the levels I remember the most for some reason, and just having to dodge the increasing amount of Tuskens shooting at you. It's I for some reason that sticks with me. I
do remember. And well, then they also had someone made like a little mini meme video of how bad shots Tuskens were. Like there was
maybe
there was like a Tusken and he was shooting and it was missing everything. Like that was like one of the first like Lego Star Wars memes or something that I saw.
Oh yeah. I think I do remember that one.
So
let's see, version 1 and version. I'm looking at the CRL now.
Yeah, like there's the neck wrap and there's the neck wrap is different. And I know the head. I've seen all different styles of Tuskens. Like I've seen Tuskens that are almost practically brown, and I've seen ones that are really light white. But like if you look at the masks and stuff like that, it's all like it has to match however you decided to color it.
Yeah. I'm a fan of the lighter tan myself. I don't know how I feel about the darker, or like this version 2 Tusken on the CRL. I don't like how the neck, the wraps around the head just kind of hit the back, like hit its upper back, its shoulders, and the first one kind of tucks under. It feels more like a helmet. It's just something about that design just is more appealing to me.
Well, in the first one, they also have the breather canister.
It looks like
I'm sorry, not the version I'm looking at, but the original version 1 or version 2. I meant to say the New Hope version has the neck canister.
Yeah.
And like the first, like they both do, but like when I look at them, I think I like the version 1, and you're saying you like the version.
I like version 1 better as well.
And I like the big long robe. I like the heavy robe.
The robe looks better than just seeing all those straps around the back. It looks like it's pretty forgiving the CRL is pretty forgiving with what types of bandoliers and like leather pouches you have.
Yeah, and then the only thing I like about the Phantom Menace, which they only have the Attack of the Clones one, they don't really have a Phantom Menace CRL. They have the Attack of the Clones because they don't. But I like the no neck canister, just because it's just one less thing. Like I with Safi's, I did the neck wrap. I did the neck wrap, for hers. Hers is like hers is more of a combo of Attack of the Clones and version 1.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did with hers, I did the brown sash under the stomach, which is not really in the picture, but it's in the CRL. I did the brown sash under her belt, under her ammo belt.
Mm-hmm.
So
CRL, the picture taken for the Attack of the Clones, he looks surprised.
Yeah, well, to me,
pricked him in the butt with a pin or something.
The eyes look too far apart to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
for that,
that's what it is.
It's something. There's something off with that helmet, but what's nice is on
lighting doesn't help either.
Yeah, but what's nice about it especially with the Mandalorian, it looks like they varied them enough that anyone can build a helmet that's going to fit their face.
Yeah.
Because I can't fit my head in Safi's, but I asked her about it, and she said she has more visibility in her Tusken than she had in her Jawa. So.
Really?
Yeah. Now her Tusken. So this is where we get into costume kits. If you're gonna, there's all kinds. You can 3D print a Tusken helmet in a day or two. There's all kind, and then it's an underskull and you wrap it, so you can make one relatively easy. But I bought it's called the Poor Man's Kit. So if anyone, I think if you look on Pinterest, you can find them, and we can put a link in the show notes. The Poor Man's Kit, I think it cost me, it was like $45. Now this was like 7 or 8 years ago, but I still think they're under like $80 for the whole kit, for everything you need. And the Poor Man's Kit has these optional things you can cut out on the side of the eyes and put this netting over them, so you can't really tell, and it gives you a little peripheral vision too. So I put those on her. Now if I was doing it for an adult Tusken, I probably wouldn't. But and then the mouth on the Tusken has to be like a upside down C or a sideways C. I cut hers a little bigger so she got more airflow.
Gotcha.
But hers is made of the kit and a milk jug. So.
Now, is that something do you think you could get away with doing for the like an adult, like using the back of a jug or like a bowl or something for the back part of the head?
A lot of guys put them on helmets. You know, they put it on a helmet. Mm-hmm. And they'll take that like a baseball like batting helmet, cut the brim off, and connect everything to that, and it goes on, and then you just snug up the neck piece and stuff. It all comes down to how, honestly, and I'm not completely happy with Safi's, but when you're building one of these, it's almost how the back of the head looks is almost will tell you how the rest of it's going to look. Mm-hmm. You know, so you want that shape. Like if you look at the version 1 on the CRL, it's that nice, like that domed shape. If you can get that nice shape in the back, the rest will come. Because the face piece. Again, I have a 3D printer one up in the garage that I'm gonna wrap, and try to make myself one, because I just like to have the mask. So I 3D printed all of it off of Thingiverse, and then I'm just gonna buy some. With hers I just put some Rit dye. Her Tusken took me 3 days and a total of less than $75 for the whole thing.
Oh, nice.
So.
I like the sound of that. The poor man in me loves the sound of that.
The strapping, the only thing I save money on is I use their Jawa bandoliers. Because the bandoliers are what will kill you.
Yeah, finding army surplus or.
Well, now there are patterns out there. So if you're out there and you even remotely can do any kind of mild leather working, there are patterns where if you go to like a Goodwill and find like an old leather pocketbook. I've seen guys do it, and they'll cut out the different pouches put a piece of foam in it, and put some rivets in it. I've seen guys do make a nice leather one for really cheap. Like her two upper belts are $1 belts from Goodwill.
Oh,
we just got leather belts, So it depends what you're building them for. But I put let me see. I sent you a link in Facebook of the this is where Studio Creations is where I got my that's where I got my TK kit. And they also have a really nice tutorial. Anyone that wants to build a Tusken, it'll walk you right through it.
Materials need, creating the head. Oh man, they've got a whole mask situation. Oh, I see, because you can buy the shell.
Yeah, and the face, the front parts, and you don't need to buy it anymore. Like I said, you can 3D print it.
Yeah.
So what's nice about that is you can scale it to you, and then build the suit around you for your size. Mm-hmm. But because that's the only thing that kept me from getting another one. I just didn't feel like buying it, but. Like you can all the pieces, like the head spikes you can print, the eyes you can print, the mouthpiece and the blood tubes can all be printed. And then the leather on the front of Safi's is old leather belts that we cut, like the ones that go over the nose. They're just old, the same belts that I bought. I just went to Goodwill and just looked for any old kids' leather belts and just took them and hit them with a belt sander, and made it work.
Wow, I like this tutorial. This is extremely specific.
Yep. And then the monk's cloth, you go to Joanne, you just get a whole bunch of monk's cloth, and then I just got a couple 5-gallon buckets and Rit dye. And because hers was white.
Mm-hmm. I would want to dye mine using... Well, I guess it could end up being really dark if I use coffee. But then it would smell good.
Well, what I did was I Rit dyed hers, and then I tea dyed the bottoms to make it look dirty.
Yeah,
but
that's smart.
the Rit dye, I mean, you can get a lot of dye out. Just get one big jar and dump it in the summer. I did it in the winter. I would not recommend doing it in the winter. Yeah. Because I had to do it in the garage, and it got dye everywhere. So, but yeah, that's the costume. I mean, if people are interested, like I would say, if you're listening to this and you like our costuming, we're normally Imperial stuff, but and I'll put a link in the show notes. But the Tusken Raider tutorial on Studio Creations, they have Biker Scout tutorials and all that kind of stuff. Their tutorials are really good. Probably the second one I would say for good pictures would be TK409. His Tusken Raider is really good too. Mm-hmm. And the gaffy stick, like I made mine from scratch, but now you can 3D print all those parts and stick it on a piece of pipe. Yeah. So, in some regards, it's made it a lot easier. Now when we put a point on hers, I made it out of a foam mat. Because I didn't want her walking around with a big 4-inch spike. But I've also seen guys take the Disney ones they sell at the Disney store and hack the ends off and just put it on a bigger pipe. Same with the Rubies. Rubies makes one.
Oh yeah.
And if you hack the pipe off and put it it's just a little short. Mm-hmm. But the Rubies one looks pretty good too. With a good paint job on it. And then the other thing here, I'll send you the other thing. So I'll send you this link.
Yeah, I know people crap on Rubies all the time, and I know their Stormtrooper helmets aren't great by any standard, but some of their props aren't terrible.
No, well, did you see their stand at Celebration? I was looking at some of their stuff at Celebration, and I would say they had more nicer stuff than not nicer stuff.
Yeah,
like if I was going to do a Hoth Han, you could get a whole Hoth Han thing for like $100.
Yeah.
For as many times as I would wear a Hoth Han, and honestly, their TK kit, I remind people that their TK kit is a Return of the Jedi kit. So the helmet, you definitely need to throw the helmet, but the rest of it, it's a little more correct to a Return of the Jedi than people realize. The Return of the Jedi TKs are just kind of ugly. No offense to any of our Return of the Jedi guys out there.
Right. I'm not a when I recently I got my first tattoo recently, and I was talking with the artist. I got a big stormtrooper helmet on my shoulder with a Death Star and TIE fighters flying around it.
Nice.
And I was talking with the guy, and he's like, anything. I wanted to let him have some artistic freedom with like the design, but I said this needs to be in a New Hope stormtrooper helmet.
Yes, I don't.
Like, if I explained to him, I originally, when we were talking about it, I'm like, oh, if you're gonna do any like any of the rest of the body, I need the sniper knee plate to be on the right, the correct side. I need the
no weather strips around the edge.
No weather strips around the edges. Like, if you're gonna, and he's like, I got you. He ended up being a pretty diehard fan too, and
nice.
So he's like, I got you. I'm with you. You want a New Hope, right? I'm like, yeah, I want a New Hope stormtroopers. He's like, none of that First Order crap, right? I'm like, no, none of that First.
Well, and they almost had me liking the Solo and the Rogue One stormtroopers until I saw the boots, which I know is something to be super. It's the boots and that random black strap that goes diagonal down the side. Oh yeah, because the boots have no heel. It's hard enough. No, because think about when Truitt, or what's his name, the guy who kills them all with his stick. When it shows him picking up their feet movement. And you see that like flat boot. And it's hard enough to find TK boots, let alone now we got to find one with a flat sole.
Oh, that's right. I like the clean lines, the sharp edges of their armor, and how it looks like it's made for better movement. But yeah, I can imagine it. I can imagine the detail of just having a little bit of a heel, like an actual Chelsea style boot, would just be like, who are they hurting by not having that there? It's not really.
Right. Well, and like, I like the shoulder straps, the ratchet straps that go down in the back. You know how you and I have the ratchet straps that just kind of stick out the back?
Yeah.
Well, they actually have a slot in the back of the armor that they go down into. So they made it look like they're made for it and stuff. And I like that. It's the boots, and there's that diagonal strap that runs up the side piece.
Yeah, I know. I know what you're talking about there. I think the other thing I like is the little hole in the back where they had the stunt wires running through.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I love that as like a little detail. Like, it has no purpose other than it was a stunt wire costume, but now all the toys have that there, and
some vacuum forming guy has to make sure that hole was there. So, I did send you, just to get back on our Tusken.
Okay, we got on stormtroopers again. God, how do we keep letting that happen?
I know. Well, but the Tuskens, I also sent you from IMA some links, because IMA is where, like, I've gotten stuff in the past. It's Army surplus / sometimes they manufacture it, so you can get one or the other. You know.
Yeah, the prices for these aren't that bad. For like $50-$60 for a full bandolier with all the bits on it.
Right. That's what I mean. Nice. If someone just doesn't want to be bothered with, building and sewing and all that stuff, IMA will run specials and stuff, so they're pretty good. Again, if you take the leather out of it and you just build the costume, pretty much everything else you don't have to have a super big skill set to build a Tusken. And I would recommend, for any of the 6 people that might want to build after listening to this, find a group of people and build them together. Because if you're going to dye a bunch of monk's cloth, you just wait till you get a good Joann's coupon and buy, 20, 30 yards of monk's cloth together, and then just, and like Sappy's, we hand sewed the whole suit. Because there's not the
it looks like from that one Instructable thing, it was that one website, the one link you sent, it's like 3 seams that you have to sew. That's it. Like,
well, in her first one, when we got it done for Steel City, I took a hot glue gun, glued the seam, and then just put a stitch every couple inches just to get us into Steel City. Just to get us through it. And then I did for her inner robe, I bought a different weave, so it gave that good context layers and stuff. like the inner robe is supposed to be a different type of material, and if I remember correctly, it was made of some fancy towel. But I just took a tighter weave fabric for the inner robe, and because then what was nice is when I dyed it the same time as the robes, it came out just a slightly different color. Now, if you look on her second robe we made her, because she grew out of the first one, I dyed it, and something went wrong with the dye, and it turned pink.
Oh.
So if you look at pictures from the one year we did the Barnstormers, you can see her inner robe looks pink. Like, it's like, oh crap. So the next day I had to bleach it for 2 days and then re-dye it. Because there was either a contaminant in my bucket or something, and it turned it pink.
Oh, yikes.
And then her boots, we just bought like Uggs knockoffs.
Well, you save that for the breast cancer awareness, Tusken.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But we just did Uggs knockoffs, and we just taped the rags all over, or hot glued rags all over them. And then the arm wraps, we put a long sleeve T-shirt. We pre-wrap the arms, so she just slides them in, and then puts the gloves on, and she's good to go.
Yeah, that's probably the smart way to handle it. Just instead of constantly, anytime I would suggest having, if there's a costume you want to do with arm wraps or leg wraps, to pre-sew the wraps to like long socks or gloves or sleeves, or I can't imagine I'd ever want to constantly.
Yeah, because I see the people that do Ray a lot have a lot of problems with those. For those arm wraps. But like the Tusken, to me, I was thinking about, just because we started talking Tusken, so Tusken started like going through my brain this week, and it made me think of the first time I saw the Tuskens. They reminded me of how Hollywood portrayed Native Americans in the films in the 40s and 50s.
Oh yeah.
Like they were kind of like, because I was raised by my grandparents, so we watched these old westerns, and there was a certain point in my time, in my young age, probably, like around kindergarten age, I was deadly afraid that if we went out west, Indians were going to kill me. Just because of the way Hollywood portrayed them. But they were like, because they were never portrayed as people. They were just this terrible force.
Yeah.
That would attack you if you left where the civilization, in quotes, is. And then it seemed like when Phantom Menace and even Attack of the Clones came along, they shed that. I don't think, like, it was like kind of like they were showing they were just a little more like than just this wild animal, just like they described them in this. Like, what was that last sentence? Like, man, what was that?
Marginally human.
Marginally human. So, like, in the first one, they were marginally human, similar to, and then it seems like in the prequels, they were a little more, like, civilized.
They've been getting their own society. Yeah, there's addition to them that makes them less marginally and more human, I guess.
Yeah, right. And he was trying to show, and then I feel like, honestly, The Mandalorian has done them more justice in the sense that you could still have stories with Native Americans being these people attacking settlers, but they're giving you the reason why. Like before The Mandalorian, they were just attacking moisture farmers, but there was never, at least The Mandalorian wasn't trying to preach to anyone, but they're like, look, you took their water, they're going to attack you.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't saying they were right or wrong, and it wasn't like, it was just saying, look, this is how they are. So, and it showed how they work together and all that kind of stuff. So they're a little more than marginally humanoid now, right now.
That also does kind of feed into, it's a sign of the times, actually, because like storytelling these days, everybody has to know exactly why everybody does everything. So it has to, I mean, I'm not knocking that. I'm like that as well. I very much enjoy knowing why the Tusken Raiders why they attack moisture farms and their, reasoning for hating other people. The Wikipedia says they're extremely xenophobic because of the harsh environment and people taking their water, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, I appreciate that, but that wasn't as much something that was woven into storytelling back in the day. I think there was a lot more, I guess, like, because I said so. Right. As far as like the reasoning for why some characters were the way they were, or why they needed a bad guy. Basically.
Well, and I also think that one of the plus sides to the way Lucas wrote, and whether it was intentional or not, but it falls under all these myths that move along. Sometimes if you give too many details, the story doesn't get to grow.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have been able to fear Tusken Raiders when I was a little kid if they all of a sudden did a 15-minute exposition in the movie about how little Tusken Raiders were dying because they weren't having water.
Yeah, I guess that's true, huh?
And so, but then, so it's almost like I evolved too, like, because I'm thinking, man, those Tusken Raiders, I hate them, and now I'm thinking, well, I still don't like them because they're going to kill my family, but now I understand a little more. And there was a story, and I was trying to find it in everything's jumbled in my house, but there's the story of like why they're called Tusken Raiders. Now, I don't know if that's canon anymore, but there was like they attacked Fort Tusken or something.
Oh.
And I forget, but that's how they got their name, because of some attack on some fort. And I think it's in one of the old West End Games books.
Mm.
I have a Tatooine West End Games, which is one of the books that Filoni references a lot when he did a lot of his stuff. A lot of the stuff he uses came from West End Games books. So there's that, the Fort Tusken stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then like some of the stories, like I think it was a really it wasn't a good book. It was called Dark Saber, but it was about a ship. It was about I think it was like a Star Destroyer that had the weapon of the Death Star built into it, or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't a very good book. It
so
was like,
do you think that was what Rogue One was referencing when they said Project Darksaber, or do you think it was actually because they ended up with we got in the Rise of Skywalker that Star Destroyers with Death Star tech built into them?
Well, it could be. It could be. But they in that one, for some reason Han, and I don't remember. It wasn't that good of a book because I don't even remember. But Han had to like sneak in with the Tuskens or stuff like that. And it went into a little bit of the Tusken culture, and they spread their culture a little more like the Huns, like the Attila the Hun type people, mm-hmm. where like the Tuskens bonded with their bantha, and if like their bantha died, then the Tusken had to wander the desert until he found a new Tusken, and it was a whole big, and that part I like because again for some reason I really like banthas. But it talked about that, it made me remember those history lessons you'd have, like where the Huns stayed on their horses for so long they could barely walk, and they would like bleed their horses and eat the horse's blood and stuff like that, so they wouldn't have to get off. So it made me think of all that with the Tusken Raiders or the Sand People. One of those terms is a derogatory term. Oh no,
it's Sand People is definitely the how does. I have the Wikipedia right up now. Less formally referred to as Sand People.
Oh, okay.
Or simply as Tuskens.
Yeah, but I wonder if in that article if it talks about Fort Tusken or something, because there was something with Fort Tusken.
I don't know. I haven't read through the whole.
Yeah, it's just funny how things change because.
Yeah.
We were so me, Sal, and Axel. And Zoe were playing Dungeons and Dragons via Zoom the other night,
mm-hmm.
and they killed. I don't know. You ever play Dungeons and Dragons?
My brother plays it. I've never actually played it myself. I don't just have friends to do that thing with.
You have to jump in on one of our games then.
I'd love to.
But anyway, so they killed some kobolds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, Zoe's like, "Wait a minute, we're in their cave. We're like killing family." I'm like, "Oh, come on, Zoe." I told her, I said, "You can pick at the kobolds when you get back to the castle." It just changes how we look at things, and it's not good or bad. It's just it's in some ways, our entertainment is less I think the entertainment in past had good messages, but more subtly, you know. Like if you look at the themes of Star Wars and all of that, like they were way more subtle than what you see in the newer stuff sometimes, or at least they seem more subtle. To the age I was at, you know. Like the evil empire, we thought was evil, but we didn't think, wait a minute, maybe he's talking about us.
I still think people don't think that.
Well, yeah, I know. But we'll save that for some other podcast.
Have it be a neon sign, and I think some people still wouldn't see it.
That's true. Well, the other thing I liked with back to the Tuskens, I liked their rifles, because their rifles were based off of the North African camel rifles.
Yeah.
You know, that so you wouldn't shoot your camel in the back of the head. They have the big long.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was and the war clubs, the gaffy sticks. There's like 5 different gaffy sticks. You know, we always think of the one with the bantha toothbrush and the 4-pointed blade, but they had different ones. You know.
Yeah, I think even the CRL it's a different one that he's holding.
Yeah, it has a big flat one.
Yeah. It's
probably
like a shillelagh on the back with like a little just metal diamond on the end of it.
Yeah. Well, they were North African war clubs. So I always, when I look at some of these things that were, especially in the Tatooine, in the desert scenes, I picture some of those prop guys just going into like local markets. They're like, okay, that looks dangerous. We'll take 3 of those, you know. So
you think that's what they did?
I'm wondering, because I just wonder, like the stormtrooper armor wasn't finished. What, you know, that's why the sand trooper armor's different, because they only had a limited amount of suits that they could, you know, throw up there, and I just wonder like what they were thinking. I'm sure they had 1 or 2, but you know, some of those things do have an African descent to it, and you figure if they're transporting all those sets to North Africa, anything they could not have to transport, you know, like save
$100 not having to pack something like that.
So
ship it.
But you know, and I did like that one, like Obi-Wan has the best lines about everything in A New Hope.
Yeah.
Because his lines, his dialogue sets so many things of the Star Wars universe. Like when he says, "Oh, the Clone Wars." Well, you know, that was a whole. Look what came out of that line in the movie. But when he talks about these tracks are these tracks are side by side, Tuskens. So even in New Hope, even though this little pamphlet says they were these animal-like creatures, Lucas's actual writing said, "Look, these guys are pretty smart."
Yeah, right.
You know.
That's true. Yeah, I guess I always thought about that. Like, for you know, being these savage sand people, they're extremely clever for hiding their numbers by traveling in single file. Like,
right.
Even as a kid, I'm like, okay, so they're not stupid.
Right. Well, and they wouldn't, and then it's neat how that line makes that, but it also then that line morphs into how almost indestructible the sandcrawlers are when the Mandalorian's attacking it.
Oh, right.
You know, because he's hitting it with everything he got. He's not even like slowing down. You know, because they say they wouldn't attack something this big. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the Tuskens, the sign language. I liked that the Tuskens in the first season of The Mandalorian almost like kind of like there was like a level of respect between him and them because he wasn't a jerk to them.
Yeah. I do really like that it showed the Tuskens as like civilized to the point where if you weren't doing anything wrong to them, they had no reason to be doing anything to you. Like,
right. Which
and,
again,
what's his face comes along and starts trying to shoot at them, and Mando's like, whoa, chill out.
Yeah. Which again, it's almost gone full circle to how, if you look at Lucas was a a study of the history of movies and in regular history, and it's the history of how Native Americans were treated not only in real life but in cinema.
Yeah.
You know, and so you see that's happening with the Tuskens, because they didn't make them good. They're not they were hacking up that dragon meat, like there was no tomorrow, so and
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
well, and like they're like he said something like they're not going to kill you or whatever unless you break the treaty, so they're like a noble people. But from that sentence I took is, well, maybe there was always these treaties with the Tuskens and the settlers always broke them.
I'd believe that.
Which then reflects,
settlers are always terrible.
Right, but which reflects our history,
Yeah.
Not to get too deep on it, but I mean that's the whole point of some of the storytelling is you can have meaningful discussions about something serious at almost at a practice level.
Mm-hmm.
So
speaking of the crate dragon,
yeah.
though, when I was reading through the sort of the some of the culture of the Tusken Raiders, it when they as characters reach the age of 15, that's their coming of age. But it says in the description of them that when they hit that age, they set out and they have to kill a crate dragon and acquire its pearl. My thought is every crate dragon the size of the one that we saw in The Mandalorian? And how on earth... it took a lot of dynamite for them to be able to take care of it. You mean to tell me that they've been sending out their kids as a rite of passage to take out these things almost on their own, in groups of... I think one of the short story, I think one of the from a certain point of view stories was the Tusken that went out in a group of 6 to hunt a crate dragon. How either is that a little disconnect on the continuity, or do you think...
Well, now is that Wikipedia? See, sometimes they list it as legends, because that sounds like something that would have been in the comic book, because the crate dragons weren't that big.
Yeah, no, this is under the canon section. So, if I control F, dragon, go to the next one. There we go. Okay, at the age of 15, a Tusken became an adult and had to slay a crate dragon and cut out the precious pearl found in its stomach to gain their adult role in their tribe. And yeah, this is under the canon section.
Yeah, I would almost bet that that's not, someone added that and didn't, because I don't know how, unless that was the world's biggest crate dragon,
yeah, maybe it was bigger than, because it moved into a Sarlacc pit hole. It wasn't just living its own.
Well, yeah, I mean that's could be, or there could just be a bunch of little baby crate dragons, because I think originally the crate dragon was that skeleton wasn't that big that that you saw laying. Yeah, that was supposed to be a crate. That was just, I forget what movie it was from, but they just took that skeleton from some Fox movie set or whoever. And but yeah, that's, I wonder if that'll I wonder if that'll change only if Sand People or Tusken Raiders get used more in the storyline. I mean, they're one of those ones I hope that they don't get used more. I don't want them to ever have a very special Sand Person episode where he takes off his wraps or something. Yeah,
it ends up just being an ugly person underneath.
Yeah, yeah. I don't ever want it to be.
Well, that one I looked up. I just for giggles I googled Tusken Raider without its mask, and it looked like it was just a burn victim. Yeah, under there.
Well, yeah, they had at one point they had someone had drawn them looking like insects. I've seen different renderings. The one thing that I really dislike the Jedi Tusken.
I forget his first name. It's Sharad or Jared. Yeah, I know the last name is Het.
Yeah, that's just one of those things I feel not I'd be like a Jawa Jedi. I'm just come on, just certain things can. They don't have to be they they can still be that menacing boogeyman that lives on Tatooine, you know. With just they don't have to be. They don't all have to be Jedis too.
I would think that would go against their culture though to leave the planet and become a Jedi. That I can imagine some of them. You know, obviously the Force is in everything, so everybody has a potential to have it. But like, I can't imagine them giving the Jedi the go ahead to take one of their kids to go train to be one. That doesn't line up. Maybe I could imagine. Maybe the Jawas. I could imagine. I think that'd be pretty funny. A Jedi Jawa.
Yeah, but I think the Jawa is another one of those ones they're like family sent. Like the nice thing about the way Lucas set them up is if you did live in that harsh environment, you would always have to count on everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and so the Jawas seem to appear where there's harsh environment, and they just have I guess, but
we've also seen the Jawas go off world. They're on Navarro when Mando's walking around there.
Yeah,
we see them in other places like Florum in Clone Wars. There are Jawas running around getting their butts kicked by
that's true,
the pirates. So that's why to me the Jawas at least strike me as at least they're willing to go off world. That's why it strikes me as like, okay, sometimes they might have some sense of individuality, hope, aspirations greater than living in the sand.
Junk hauler. Well, I do remember in one of the books they were like, there was someone that said there's two things you can find on every planet. It was someone like talking, or I was reading it somewhere, and they were like Banthas and Jawas. They were like, that's the two things you can find on every planet. Because I guess Banthas are basically like cows are for us, you know, like you can just raise them anywhere. And Jawas just go anywhere there's junk. Yeah. Like I would imagine, you know, eventually there'll be a whole bunch on Jakku. It'll be like, they'll be having a blast. But yeah, the Tusken Raider, after looking at them all this week, I was like, oh man, I really need to build a Tusken Raider.
Yeah, I at least kind of want to make the head, have it as a display piece, maybe like a scarf around the base just to have some sort of depth to it. But yeah,
well, I mean, like I said, that tutorial, that's what got me through doing Safi's, because I was doing hers because when Zoe went to do Sabine, Safi didn't have anything to do then. She would have been a Jawa by herself. Mm-hmm. And at the time, the only thing she had interest in was a Tusken. So I was like, okay, I'll do a Tusken, you know. And I did it just by that tutorial and myself. And it's lasted. I mean, I don't think she'll ever wear it again, but I think 000 went out on that one.
Now, for the strips of cloth around the mask itself, what did you do for that? Did you take just the same cloth the jacket was made out of and rip it into strips, or? I can't remember if the poor man's kit came with that, or if I wound up going and looking for cloth that had like a certain texture, and then I wound up. It's not monk's cloth, because the monk's cloth wouldn't look. It has to have a little tighter, and I just cut long strips with like paper scissors, so it was all jaggedy and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And then I think for hers, I think I used spray adhesive. Sprayed it, laid them on. Sprayed it, laid them on. So, yeah, I think that's because I'll be looking for that soon. Because, like I said, I have 3D printed the head shell, but I cut it in half, and I'm gonna put elastic across the middle so it'll flex a little bit when I put it on. I got a big head. Yeah, that would be. I know that feeling.
And then it'll just kind of snap shut on my head. And then I'm just gonna have the long neck pieces, and I'm gonna have the back pieces come down long and use them as the neck wrap. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't know if I'm gonna ever get a Tusken approved, but like Zoe's talking about doing a Tusken movie, so if I can get some more Tuskens, they don't have to be approved. They can just look, you know, as long as they look good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I think I dirtied the head of hers up with I think I used Rit dye diluted in water and sprayed it in a spray can, so it just went under the high spots.
I was gonna say, I could imagine even some just like spots of tan or beige spray paint would do the trick.
Yeah. You'd be
feel
surprised,
like
like I said, with Rit dye, it gives if you're not, it'll give different color textures to the cloth, and then you can use any kind of stuff, any paint. Just you just got to be careful. Once you get too dirty, you can't go back.
Yeah.
So, but I've seen guys like trample on it, just lay it on the ground and trample and get it all dirty and stuff. I just like my dirt to be exactly where I want it and not fall off.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the loose dirt either.
Yeah, because my sand trooper looks loose, but I did all Fuller's Earth, which you could probably do Fuller's Earth on the cloth too. Mm-hmm. But I did, and then I sealed it with hairspray, and so it looks like it's just like dust all over it, but it won't come off. But
the instructions on this one, the inside view of the mask. Notice the peripheral vision slots. They will save your life one day. Trust me.
Yeah, well, that's see, but you don't use those peripheral vision slots. Like if you look at the CRL, I don't think you can have those peripheral vision slots cut out. Well, I'm looking at theirs. They don't have them. Though you could, depending on the fabric you use, you could probably see through that peripheral vision stuff.
I would think just having the light coming in, like if you're able to see like somebody's movement next to you, you don't even need to see like who is there or what's going on. But I would think that just being able to see movement would be infinitely better than being completely constrained to just two eye holes.
Well, and you have screen over the eyes, so you don't fog up.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that would be nice. I can't say I've ever had a costume that's involved a helmet or a mask that hasn't had a lens that would fog up.
But yeah, again, if anyone's interested in doing a Tusken, that'd be a good costume. Like if someone wanted to get into one of the groups and had no preference, like I still am a believer in build whatever costume that you really want. But a Tusken is one of those ones that if you're on the fence, everyone loves a Tusken. Like I'm still amazed at how many people want their pictures taken with Tusken Raiders.
I know, right? It's recognizable. It's really unique to the Star Wars universe. I know other like B-grade Star Wars movies have their own version of stormtroopers, but like
right. Well, and you don't see Tuskens very often. Like I mean, even especially now, we have a large influx of Star Wars. You see, but Tuskens are still, and they'll probably once things start back up, they'll have a new found freedom or a love because of the Mandalorian. And now, if you're a Tusken, you could wear the binocs from Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, because Mando makes his friend give him a pair.
Yeah. So
not his friend, what's his face? The actor nobody recognized, who was a rookie bounty hunter.
Yeah,
whose jacket looked like it didn't fit in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he did take me out of that one a little bit. What was his name now? Toro.
Toro, is that his name?
His name was Toro. Yeah.
He reminds me of. He fits in the Star Wars universe the same way that Kaz from Resistance does, and that like kinda they look like they fit more on like a Coruscant or like a really really city like planet where everything is more modernized, and it's just something about the colorful jackets, the cleanliness. He didn't look like he belonged on Tatooine.
Yeah. Well, and maybe that's how they wanted him to look. They wanted
I guess
him,
that's fair.
They wanted him to be like that. He wasn't. He was a bounty hunter due to just being like rich or,
Yeah, I guess that's true. He wasn't supposed to be a seasoned veteran. He was supposed to be a new.
Like he went to Dick's Sports and bought all his bounty hunting clothes. I'll have my bounty hunter's jacket, please. It was like Boba Fett brand jacket.
Yeah, right.
But and I'm curious. I bet you we'll see more Tuskens in the Boba Fett series.
Oh yeah, probably.
Because that at least is going to be based on Tatooine. So
at the very least, it seems like it's going to start out on Tatooine.
Yeah, or that'll be where it it touches back every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, which is like I was saying before we started recording. That's why I kind of want to see. I like the designs of these like Tusken children. I think if we could see more of that, and then have people trooping with their kids as Tusken children, that seems better than the Jawa style, because it looks like a mask that you could solidify in that shape and then just have a screen mesh in front of it. You don't even need to have it doesn't have lights or anything. It's all just brown cloth.
Hey, I am always amazed at when people put their kids in costumes that don't want a costume.
That's fair.
I've been doing this long enough, and they'll be like, "Oh, your kids love being Jawas," and then I'll be like, "Well, make sure you do this and don't use burlap." And then I'll see them like 2 weeks later, and the kid has the wrong mask on, wrapped in burlap, and the kid wants to troop for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, right.
So, I am amazed at what parents put their kids through. You know, I mean, I lucked out because my kids liked it, but if the kids don't like it, don't put your kids in a costume. That's my public service announcement. If your kids aren't into it, it's okay. You know?
Yeah, don't force it on them.
Because I often wonder about that, like with costumes, especially just thinking about the Tusken, and I'm staring at Safi's Tusken. You know, the costumes are fun to wear if you like it, but man, you know, that's why I watch Safi bolt into 000, and I know for a fact the kid mustn't mind, because if it takes 45 minutes to put it on,
yeah, right.
You know. I mean, we trooped the thing in Maryland. The troop was 15 minutes long. It took us 45 minutes in 95-degree heat to put her in the, like, I was half in my TK suiting her up. I looked like I just got done trooping for 10 hours just getting her in the costume. And then when we pulled her head off at the end of those 15 minutes, and it was like a blast furnace shooting out the neck hole. Because there's that suit seals tight. Like, you and I in our TKs, we're like, we could do somersaults compared to what she can do. I don't think you've ever seen her suit up. Next time we troop together, I've
seen like the final stages. I've seen you bolt the head on.
But, well, you know,
I guess that I've for all the years that I've been costuming, so for how many times I've tried making costumes as comfortable as possible, I can't think of a single costume I've ever worn that has been comfortable. Yeah, it's like that would have to be the number one rule if I were to try to convince a child to get into it. Is Mando pretty comfortable? Well, I guess if you make your own, but even still, you're dealing with, you know, you're sweating in a helmet.
Yeah.
I'm talking like I want a costume that I would feel no different than regular clothing that I wear.
Well, yeah. Well, like, so with kids, I think the Tusken one, after seeing it, because I didn't see it when my kids were little, I would have probably looked at that before the Jawa. But the Jawa, at least if you do it right, which means you got to spend more money, the Jawa can be pretty comfortable for kids if you stay away from certain things. Like my kids did Jawas for like 9 years or something like that. So, you know, it's just you have to build it right.
At least that's why. The thing that Jawas have over the Tusken children, of course, is their recognizability. Yeah, and they can kind of run around. They can interact with people. People know what they are instead of what's this just kid wrapped in.
He looks like a mummy.
Yeah, right.
Well, and then like the cadet helmets, I sold a bunch of those. The Rebels cadet helmets. That's another good one for kids.
Yeah, that one would be if you can get the pants and the jacket.
Yeah,
looking right.
But I've seen guys go to a thrift store and get a gray members only jacket, put a couple patches on it, and a pair of gray pants, and it's good enough for a kid.
I guess that's that's true.
Like it just needs that. It just needs that look. It just it has to, because the kids are going to outgrow it, and
That's true.
Like,
they're not trying to go for CRL based quality here.
yeah. And the like I said, the Jawas, it's not. It's the material, like guys, because monk's cloth is expensive, and burlap is not. And I see kids in that burlap, and it's just, it doesn't matter what it looks like. It's just going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the Tuskens. If you use that monk's cloth, that stuff's so comfortable. It's soft and it's easy to work with. But now my Tuskens, I didn't sew mine because I priced out monk's cloth, and Chris Bartlett was selling them on his website. I just bought 2 from him.
Oh, nice.
So the guy who plays Zero and all the droids in Mandalorian, I bought my girls' Jawas from him in 2007.
I couldn't get away with. It would be unsafe for me to do a costume with a big drapey cloth like that, because it would be so tempting to just not wear pants underneath.
You can wear your kilt.
But then it's like, what's the point? I'm still wearing an extra layer of cloth underneath the floppy layer of cloth.
You don't want to be one of those. You don't want to be one of those Deadpools in the spandex without a dance belt. That's just. But yeah, I don't know. I hope to see some. I hope at least our talk of Tuskens got some people interested in Tuskens.
Yeah, if you guys out there are like, hey, let's get a group together and just, build some. If anybody wants to get together and build some Tusken masks, dye some cloth, have some drinks, and build some Tusken masks, I say let's get something going. The weather's getting nicer. We can, step outside of our caves finally.
Yeah. Well, and again with 3D printing, I just 3D printed everything for that, except for the eyes. I think I can make molds to mold all the head greeblies. The eyes, the only reason I wouldn't mold those is the slits on the bottoms. If I mold them, I'd have to figure out how to fill that in, that you could clean it out nice and neat, which I probably could just put a piece of paper in there.
Yeah, then every time you pull the mold out, you just take a Dremel to that little section there. That doesn't seem too.
Because that's a relatively easy mold to make. I could make a mold where we could dump out Tusken pieces relatively quick.
Yeah.
And the head, because I am thinking of molding this headpiece, these 2 pieces, half, just make a mold, and then I can just slush them and have them. Because the 3D printed stuff is good, but then you just got to do, like, if I was going to make that 3D printing the helmet, I would probably back it with fiberglass just to protect it from falling apart over time. And then I just added a whole bunch of weight that I don't know if I want. Yeah.
I would think that I'd be okay with 3D printing the bits, because I have that XTC 3D, the self-leveling resin.
Yeah.
I tried it out on a couple of like smaller detailed prints, and it, without any sanding whatsoever, does a fantastic job at leveling out the lines. I was surprised at how well it worked. It's still like, without any sanding whatsoever on a really detailed little piece. I printed out a little Grogu for my mother for Christmas and painted that up for her as a little
nice.
a desk toy. But without any sanding whatsoever, it took care of probably 90% of the print lines.
Yeah, well, see, my only thing is just speed. Like, honestly, like I if I made a mold, I could make that whole Greebly set in 25 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously
that's my only, because it comes down to, like, right now my printers are I'm starting to run bigger and bigger prints.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I just finished Safi's pit droid. Actually, his arm will probably be done tonight at like 10 o'clock. And then so now I got to think of another big print to put on there. So I'm still trying to get this Bo-Katan helmet going.
I printed out that the Mando season 1 original version 1 chest armor.
Yeah.
Bits of that, and it made it so close to the end before the bits. It was just, the 2 top parts. It hit a level where it was leaning so hard that it bumped it overnight and ended up knocking it over. It's close enough to the end that I think I could just take some strips, like leftover strips from my stormtrooper ABS.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And cover up the top, glue that on, use some wood putty on the tips that didn't print right, but it's never fun waking up to a spaghetti mess.
Oh man, I had a pit droid head fail, and it was 8 hours of printing spaghetti, basically a whole spool. It was because no one was home, and it just kept, because it knocked the head off of the bed, because it must have just wobbled a little bit, and I was like, so it is what it is. The joys of 3D printing. I can't complain. Well, anyway, I think we've pretty much worked out the most of this. Now the
Tuskens for this Tuesday.
Yeah, for those interested in, if you want to build one, I'll put all the links of stuff we talked about in the show notes. But the nice thing about a Tusken is if you are one of those persons that want to join one of the costuming groups, they can be accepted both in Rebel Legion and 501st.
And if you make a Mando armor with Tusken influences, you could do the Mando mercs too.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what Sappy wants to do.
But
that's what Sappy wants to do. She wants to do a Mando with the Tusken spikes on it and stuff like that. So, but we got too many droids to worry about for right now. Once I get C-3PO done, then I'll be up for new. Well, my goal, part of my goal this fall, is to have new molds that I can sell C-3PO statues that'll come out of the mold, and you basically put it together and you have a life-size 3PO.
Oh yeah,
that's the next big molds we're gonna make. So that's
I call
probably
dibs on the B pools that you're not willing to sell to people, but you want to get out of your garage.
That might come sooner than you think. The problem is all my B pulls right now are the one leg. I had a bad. I was redoing a mold, and I have a crap ton of the one lower. I think it's the lower right leg, and they're not even good B, because at first I was going to clean them up, make them scraps for Jawas, but they're so bad. If you don't know what they are, you're like, I don't even know what that is. It just looks like a bunch of crap. So. Bummer. When you have a $250 mold rip, it's not a fun day.
No, I bet not.
So, but yeah, no, the Tusken is definitely one of those. It's a nice display piece. Like, I'm looking at this at the 501st CRL, that one Tusken mask. It's a nice display piece too. Mm-hmm. And again, look at the different ones. And if you're not doing it to be in a costume club, you don't have to do it exactly like they are, but I would recommend using them as a guideline, because you might decide you want to be in a costuming club.
Better to have it and not need it. Have it by the rules and not need it than... Yeah.
And, but I'll put the CRLs in there, and I don't know, it's the Crate Dragon is the detachment. If you become a Tusken in 501st, you get the designation of DZ for Denizen of the Empire. For
the Crate Clan.
Crate Clan. I'm sorry. Did I say Crate Dragon? Yeah. We were talking Crate Dragons too much. But I do have to look up where the Fort Tusken, because I'm pretty sure that's how they got their name, like attacking Fort Tusken, and I just can't remember.
So in the Wikipedia under the Legends section, it's the formal name Tusken Raiders was acquired later due to a period of concerted attacks on the settlement at Fort Tusken.
Okay.
In 100 years before the Battle of Yavin.
Okay. Yeah, because the history of Mos Eisley alone is pretty cool. Like that wreckage and junk that you see behind them when Luke and them come in. Mm-hmm. The town is built around a wrecked ship. And like in the one book, if you ever come across the West End games, old West End games, they have maps of Tatooine, and they have maps of Mos Eisley, and it's like this. The city is built around this big circular wreckage that people just scavenge from all the time, because it's like a wrecked ship. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the common, I don't know what. But and that's I think where I read about the Fort Tusken. But yeah, the how-to,
the canon version, it doesn't say it. They've nixed the Fort Tusken reference, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder if that's in the works or if they just leave that open. I like the legend stuff because you can believe it until it's proven not true.
That's fair, yeah. Until it doesn't line up with something that's actually in the canon.
Yeah. I could have asked, what's his name? Matt Martin. What he thinks. The story group. The only person in the story group I know. But yeah, I mean, so go build a Tusken out there. Or show pictures of your Tuskens.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm a member of any Tusken build groups. I'm gonna have to see if I can find one. Because that would be a good costuming group. Because you could bang out like I still want to see a Tusken encampment.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's Zoe and I were talking. She wants to film a Tusken encampment. So like just like have it set up and just do almost like a walkthrough. With we have a 360 camera and just do a walkthrough of the encampment.
That would be fun. How would you make the tents? Set up a regular tent, cover it in dyed.
Yeah, like
cloth.
I have like old sheets and stuff like that I use for paint covering. I told her we could just get some cheap dye and just let it soak in all different colors and just throw it over top so it looks like pelts and stuff. You don't even need big tents. You could get like kids tents, like little tiny 2 or 3 of them.
Oh yeah.
Because the scale doesn't have this. You can hide the scale with just all the other stuff sitting around. Like put them 15 feet back. Oh look, there's a tents over there. Yeah. Well, we went from almost human to pretty close to human. And I think that's a wrap. If you guys can like our show, subscribe. We're on, I don't know if we're on iHeartRadio, but we're on SoundCloud, iTunes. I think we might be on Spotify, Podbean, a bunch of them. I try to submit as many as I can. I just forget whose I submitted. But check us out. Give us a 5-star rating if possible. Feed the algorithm.
Whether we deserve it or not.
Yeah, come on. It's free. You're getting it for free. Give us a 5-star rating. If you need to email us, it's Mike at CaridaCast or Colin at CaridaCast.com. Find us on Facebook. Like us on Facebook. Anything else?
If there's stuff you guys want to hear us talk about or rant about,
yes,
or learn about, please contact us.
And if you want to be a guest or talk costumes, or
we are desperate for human interaction.
Yes.
It's been a long year. Come on, give us a call.
If you want to hear Tyler be a guest person on pilots, why they're not as good as stormtroopers, we're fine with that too.
I'll tell you, first reason right now, their survival rate is like 1/10 of what a ground trooper stormtroopers is.
Right.
Boom, that's it. We got that's done. We don't need to do that episode now.
But if there's anything you want us to say, or we're 2 for 2. We're 2 weeks in a row now. So
yeah, we'll see how long that lasts.
Well, I'm keeping my Mondays for podcasting, so students are not getting their work graded right now because I'm, and then I'll go in tomorrow and I'll be like, look, I was busy, kids. Your work was so good I have to take another day to grade it.
Yeah.
Or I just made them watch our Star Wars stories the other day. No, we got a letter from our principal said, look, really try to make connections with the kids because they've been stuck at home and it's been a rough year. So I was like, hey, okay, guess what, kids? The last 5 minutes of class we're watching our Star Wars stories. I said, you get to see Mr. Hinton cry, and they're like, yes, we want to watch.
Yeah, I'm sure that was the real selling point there.
Oh yeah, they didn't care. So they were like, Star Wars what? Though I will say, and The Mandalorian has a lot to do with it too. I had a lot of new Star Wars fans, like when the new movies came out, and then The Mandalorian seemed to like pile on to that. Mm-hmm. So kids that because I think a lot of, at least the kids where I teach, a lot of them just didn't go to the movies.
Yeah.
You know, they might have went to like 1 or 2 movies a year. Just because, you know, they have a family of 4 or 5, you can't go to the movie ever, you know, all the time. And so a lot of them just didn't see Star Wars until it came, you know. I did notice, though, if you don't have them on DVD, they're $5 for pretty much all the new Star Wars movies at Five Below.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
For like the decent versions of the
it was like
steel books or whatever. Or?
I don't know. Well, it's just they were nice. You know, they weren't like in a cardboard tube or anything. You know.
I'll see the ones at like grocery at stores that are going. They're still like $40. They're
this was like they had Solo and a couple of like Solo. I think they had Solo, Rogue One, and one of the prequels or sequels. I don't know which one because I have them all. So I'm like, I don't need them. But.
I think I'm missing Solo. I might have to go. I think I can spend $5 on Solo.
You might be able.
Maybe.
All right. Well, listen, everyone, subscribe. Get us tons of listeners, so then we'll get so happy with it. We'll do even more shows. We could do a Patreon show, and then Colin could afford to buy 2 copies of Solo. One for each eye.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't be Solo at that point.
Right, it'd be
duo.
Well, I do. And we say goodbye like my family does. It takes you say goodbye at Christmas and it's New Year's when everyone leaves. No, but we have to get a big sabacc game going, and maybe we'll have to have Star Wars merch as some of the stuff you can turn in. Like bring your Funko Pops. You can slide them in with your.
Yeah, right. I'm betting 5 Funko Pops. I raise your classic Mos Eisley Cantina T-shirt with my 5 Star Wars Funko Pops.
I think the Funko Pops are going to be my first victim of my clean out.
Do you have a Thrawn?
No, but I got a Thrawn pin from Celebration.
Oh.
I got the pin. I ordered the pins, a bunch of the pins from the Celebration store. I ordered them back in I think I ordered them in August, and they just came in. And I bought 2 blind packs with them, and I bought a Thrawn. And then I got one of the blind packs was a Thrawn.
Oh, I'm super jealous.
So you and I, we can work a trade. We'll work something out. Those pins are nice. I don't. That's the stuff I think that when I finally get everything set up, that's the stuff I'm going to display. And I think some of my Funko Pops, I'll keep some of them, but I think I'm going to be a little more selective in some of the Funko, because the Funko, man, they just kind of started coming in, and then before you know it.
There are too many to keep track of. I will concede that point.
Yeah. Well, and then I have a Tusken Raider Funko that I found. That was hard. And then the Jawas. Before Mandalorian, it was hard to find Jawas, so I found some. I think I found them at Steel City. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah,
I'm sure they upcharged you.
They weren't bad. I think they were like $12 each, so they weren't ridiculous priced. But I it's hard for me to pay upscale price on Funko Pops. That's unless it's something I really want. Like I got the giant Porg at a con in Maryland for $19. The real big one,
that's not bad for a.
I bought it for my size. I bought it for my robotics team because we were the Perryville Porgs. So we carried it around to our robotics meet. So
Perryville Porgs, I love that.
Well, we were the Perryville Jawas this year, and then COVID hit. Because the kids are like, "Why do you have to use Star Wars names?" I'm like, "Look, I'm the coach. I get to pick the name." If I gotta wear a shirt, it's gonna have Star Wars on it.
Like what? Like you got better ideas, kid? Come on.
Yeah. So, Anyway, this is going downhill fast, but again,
That's okay. I'll cut it all out and post. Maybe.
I'll leave it on there. What the heck?
Maybe.
I will put all the links to all the stuff we talked about in the show notes. So if you want to start building a Tusken, let us know. And then I don't know what our topic will be next week. Did we veer off?
It'll be random. The mystery show.
We might surprise you. Well, yeah, because I do have some stuff we can talk about. I'm not going to say it now or we'll go on for another half hour.
Yeah, right.
So I'm going to write it down right now.
Well, I guess real quick, because we keep talking, I'm going to do... This is where the recording will come back in, the part that I will not have cut out.
Right.
And so now we will say goodbye, everybody. May the Force be with you.
Yeah, may the Force be with you, everybody. Thanks for listening.